Hello, this is Gary.
Hi, Gary. Kelly Lang.
How are you doing?
Doing great.
All right. Are you excited to be talking today on the Real Music Podcast?
Absolutely. Can't think of anything I'd rather be doing.
Well, there you go. Today on Real Music, I've got singer-songwriter Kelly Lang talking about her brand new book and single entitled I'm Not Going Anywhere. So here we go. Let's get started. You don't go anywhere. Listen to this. I've been looking over your biography. Your father was the road manager for Conway Twitty, so I'm guessing that probably influenced you to start your own music. I'm just saying,
A
I don't know,
great deal.
right? Call me crazy, but that might have had some effect, right?
I
On
had no idea what music was until him, so that was the only influence I had for many years.
wow. So what was it like back in the day to see Conway Twitty and people like that on the road?
Well, I didn't think anything about it because that's all I knew. Dad worked for him from the time I was one for 25 years, and I just assumed everybody's dad's job was kind of like that.
Right.
But
Just
when you get
normal.
older and can reflect back, you realize how unique it was. And in looking back, I wrote a song regarding Conway because I was able to, after he passed away, I was able to see his greatness and the effect that he had on the world. And I wrote a song called Goodbye Darling, really depicting my feelings about that I took it for granted. And like we do, when
Right.
we assume somebody will be there much longer. And
Right.
he died at 59, and I just really felt like I had a lot more time and things I wanted to say to him. So I wrote that song in his honor, and I believe it really captured what I felt about him.
Right. Yeah, I believe so too. And when songs are really personal like that, I think it means so much to people, and people can relate to songs. When you've gone through those things, right? And yeah, that's really nice. But you started young singing. How old were you when you really started singing?
Oh my goodness. Well, I wrote my first song at 6 years old.
Wow.
And when we moved from Oklahoma City with Conway's organization to Tennessee when I was about 7, I guess. And then about a few years after that, I started doing some things around the church and, functions around town, but took it more seriously when I was 12, and I started doing a local TV show called The Ralph Emery Morning Show.
Cool.
And for any of your listeners that might know that name, Ralph Emery, he was the host of Nashville Now,
Right.
and did a lot of interesting things in country music. So it was quite an opportunity for me to be. It was kind of like a little education for me, a college education as I went further in my career. And from that, it stemmed from going into doing Star Search and a lot of things on the Nashville network. So I started really, really young. I don't know anything other than that. And anytime I ever tried to veer away from doing music, I always was bumper card back into this. So
Right. It's hard to get away from
it
that,
is.
right?
It's in my blood for sure.
Right. Yeah, I was going over some old videos and I saw that you were on like Crook and Chase back in the day. It was years ago. You remember what year that was? And I think
Oh my goodness, I did it so often. I did Music City Tonight. I
right.
think I was 23 when I was doing that. I was a regular on there, and that was again another college education. You can't teach somebody that. They just throw you to the wolves and you're sink or swim kind of thing.
Right. And you're talking about your songs that you've had people record, or you're talking about your songs, but you've had people record different songs. Ricky Skaggs and Lori Morgan, the Oak Ridge Boys, and Crystal Gale, and B.J. Thomas, who I got to interview right before he passed away. I was thankful for that.
He
And
was a wonderful, wonderful person. I miss him terribly. He was a great support system for me.
wow.
Yeah, it started out. I'd just been writing by myself, and then Laura Morgan found out that I wrote. She knew I was a singer, but she never really was aware of my writing. So she and I got together with her keyboard player and literally wrote her life story to music, and it came to be in an album called I Walk Alone. And so
Awesome.
we spent maybe once a week for about a year writing this whole project for her. And that led to other people, requesting things that I might have written. And another option that came along was my boyfriend at the time, but he's now my husband, T.G. Shepherd.
Hmm.
He started to record a duet project with a lot of huge entertainers. And he mentioned to the producer that I was a writer. And so I pitched my songs to the producer, and it just happened that they chose 10 of my songs for this project.
Wow.
And that landed, the Ricky Skaggs duet and BJ Thomas, the Oak Ridge Boys. So that was a really big opportunity. Jerry Lee Lewis recorded one of my songs through that project.
Awesome.
So it's a wonderful thing to have on the resume, and it's kind of right time, right place kind of thing. And the producer was really harsh on picking those songs. So I felt very honored that any of mine landed in that.
Right. That's got to be exciting for you, and I guess it boosts your ego, right? To be able to have songs recorded by these artists. I guess that makes you feel better about yourself, right?
Well, it makes you feel like you're not doing something in vain. That something is. And this producer has produced Barbara Streisand before.
Wow.
So for him to give me, wow, your writing is right up there with this or that, it did give me encouragement to continue on, because if you're not getting anywhere with your writing, it sure makes you keep on with what you're doing if you feel like you're getting along with it.
Well, not to give myself a plug, I don't ever do that, but when BJ Thomas was on here, he told me, which meant a lot to me, he was following me on Instagram, and he knows that I write songs, and he said he was going to record a couple of songs of mine, but then he passed away, and I was like, pew, sad that he never got a chance. Now, how cool would that have been, right? But
he was such a class act, just such a kind man, and you would have been so tickled to have had a cut by him, I'm sure.
Oh,
but
man.
You know what? Sometimes it's just knowing that he liked it enough. To cut it. It's a pat on the back.
Well, I told him, I could die happy now, because that, but it means a lot. That's what I was thinking about when you're talking about these artists that have, recorded, your music, and of course you do your own. Do an awesome job, by the way. And we'll talk about that in a second. But when you have personal feelings that you put into paper, and it's a piece of you, and then you're giving it to somebody else, and they're sharing that, that's a special thing, I think. For somebody to record it, that would be cool. But I was reading, you were surprised, maybe a couple years ago on the Huckabee show. What surprise did you get on the Huckabee show?
Oh my goodness.
Was that a shocker?
Total shocker. I'm originally from Oklahoma, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there are a ton of music icons that come from Oklahoma. I mean, Carrie Underwood, and Garth Brooks, and I mean, there's Shelton. So many. Yeah. And so Governor Huckabee surprised me with this beautiful award and said that I was inducted into the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame, not even country, but Music Hall of Fame, along with these amazing names. And I, due to the pandemic, I have not been able to go there and actually have a presentation or anything from them, but what an honor to be in that. And I've been gone from there so long, but I still have a lot of family that left in Oklahoma. And, it's bragging rights for me to get a free meal at my aunt's restaurant,
Right.
But I don't know. That was a real pivotal time in my career. It was one of those moments that you're just like, I am getting, some traction here. Obviously that they wouldn't have offered that to me otherwise. So that was just a lovely gesture.
That's nice. But you had no clue at all. Wow.
It was, and the award is so sensational. I have it in my music room next to my husband's, all of his awards. I'm like, yeah, but look at this.
But make sure you shine yours up real nice to go beside you.
Put a light on it or something.
That's right. He should have already done that. What kind of husband? He needs to shine this thing up. And
he's so funny. He doesn't display anything. He doesn't care to put anything up. Really? And I'm the one that goes, TG, you've got all these beautiful awards. We're hanging them on the walls. And he was so embarrassed by it. But that we both, that's a really cool thing about our relationship is we like to shine light on each other.
Yeah. Wow.
And he is the most supportive spouse of anybody I've ever known. He's already been there, done that. Right. So he's reliving his opportunities that he's had through opportunities that I am now having. So it's really cool to be able to have that kind of relationship.
Yeah, and and you're enjoying the moments, and he's using awards as paperweights. So it's all good. He's like, I got another one. He throws it in the garbage. No, I'm kidding. He don't. No,
No,
but no,
he's just kind
that's
of
good.
modest in that way.
That's
Matter of
cool
fact,
though.
during the pandemic, we cleaned out our garage, and believe it or not, I found boxes and boxes and boxes of awards that he
Oh
had.
wow,
I never knew he had, and he'd
wow.
forgotten about them. But after a while, I guess he's had 21 number one hits, so they start piling up. And where are you going to put them?
Yeah, right,
So we had
man.
to put them in their proper places and label them properly. But he was thrilled to share that part of his life with me that I didn't even know about.
That's great, man. That's so cool. Um, and of course, you had a 17-year battle with breast cancer. You written a book called "I'm Not Going Anywhere." You got a song out with the same name. And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I wrote this song 17 years ago called "I'm Not Going Anywhere." In honor of a friend of mine. I saw her struggling to encourage her husband who was in hospice. There was lots of nurses around him, but every time she would say, "Honey, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere," that's when I could see him just relax and be comforted by those words.
Right.
So I wrote that song just kind of secretly. I didn't even tell her about it, and I wrote it and recorded it. And who knew 3 months later I would be going through a breast cancer battle myself. And TG, he and I were just dating at the time, he held me one day when I was crying, and he says, "Baby, I'm not going
Mm.
anywhere. I love you." I said, "You need to leave. I'm going to die.
Mm.
And he says, "Nope, I'm right here." And it just hit me like, oh my God, my words came back to me, when I needed them the most. And I didn't even think much more about it. He and Crystal Gale recorded it, and it was in a Burt Reynolds movie. But then I thought, well, it just is kind of over. So 16 years later, Ascension Hospitals found that song on YouTube and decided to use that for their national commercial for their hospitals. And that really struck up a really interest in the song, because then the pandemic was kicking in, and
Right.
everybody needed that feeling of assurance during that time. And a lot of people wrote to me and told me how encouraged they were by that song, with their leaving their loved ones in nursing homes or in hospitals and stuff, that they sang my song.
Wow.
And that inspired, back to cleaning out my garage. I found a bunch of notes when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was just going to throw them away. But my friend says, "Kelly, I think if you wrote a book using those notes and showing people how many years later you're doing so well and what you did to get well, maybe that could help people."
Right.
So those notes inspired the book, "I'm Not Going Anywhere." And to be honest with you, I've never considered writing a book. I never thought of myself as an author by any means. But Governor Huckabee asked me to come on his show and share my book, and it has just been life altering to me, and hopefully to readers that see that there's light at the end of a dark tunnel.
Right. Yeah. I was reading some of it, and it's very touching and relatable. I've had some issues myself, and but speaking of Ascension, kind of no coincidences, but I know God has a purpose for everything. But my dad was in the hospital with cancer during the pandemic. Right when the pandemic started, he had
Mm.
cancer, and he had a stroke, and he had back surgery, and he had cancer
Oh my
all at the same
gosh.
time. And it was like the worst, ever. And I wasn't going anywhere. I decided to stay there with him, and it was at Ascension in Pensacola, Ascension
Oh.
Sacred Heart in Pensacola. So when I heard you was coming on in the song, that means a lot. I mean, it was really. So there's an inspiring word for you. Is that so?
Well, thank you. Did that song help you
It
any, or
it
did you
it
hear it at
did.
that time?
I sure did, and it's about the same time I think is when I first realized it. The song I'd heard it before, but it was like it. They started playing the commercials, and it was so touching. I was like, wow, and your voice is like perfect for that song. It was just, I mean, it's a perfect song. Let's just say that, but it's moving, and then
You are so kind to tell me that. And I'm sorry about your dad. Is he doing
oh,
okay
I was gonna
now?
say he's doing good.
Oh.
So he's doing better. He learned to walk. He's he's still got some issues, but the cancer's gone. and
What a rock star.
and
Oh
he's
my
doing
goodness.
he just had his 75th birthday and he's doing good. So he's
Oh,
but
congratulations. I'm really excited to hear that.
well, thank you. But stuff like that, that's what I was thinking about earlier about songs. See, when you go through something like that, and now you're getting a chance to write a book about it, and also you're inspiring people and you're telling people, what God does for you or what all you've been through. It inspires people and they say, hey, I don't give up. Because myself, I had thyroid cancer when I was 23 years old and God healed me. And
Wow.
I've never told
Well,
anybody that on this show, so there you go.
well, I'm glad. Well, you're going to help somebody. Here's the thing. When I was going through my breast cancer, I was 36 years old. I had two little girls. I was scared to death.
Right,
And I didn't have anybody my particular age, and I'm sure you didn't either at 23.
right,
I didn't have anybody to ask, like, what is this like? I didn't even know what an oncologist was.
right,
They had me in these doctor's appointments. I'm like, wait, who are you? So it was shocking, and I wanted somebody to be my age to tell me I'm going to be okay, and there was nobody.
right,
And so I prayed to God, literally. I said, God, please just heal me. And I promise I will do whatever I can to be a light for somebody else. If I can be of encouragement to be the person that I needed at that time. And to be honest, I tried for a little while. I would take friends to treatments or whatever, but it always felt so hard for me. And so I just kind of stopped talking about it. I didn't want anybody to talk to me about breast cancer in any way.
right.
And when this book came to be, I realized that was being very selfish of me to just kind of bury that subject. And the book has inspired me to open up more and just be very vulnerable, very clear with people how I got through it. And I believe I'm following through with my promise. And not only has it been blessings to other people because they're like, wow, you're so blunt and so authentic. We need somebody to be honest with us. But it
Right,
has blessed me to hear all these lovely stories like yourself
right,
that, that's where fame means nothing to me. Fame and riches or whatever, that is so fleeting. But
right.
when I connect to a heart, now that matters to me. And that's where my goal is for the rest of my life, to be able to just help people with whatever talent God has given me.
Well, there you go. I mean, when you ask stuff like that, you ask God, you say, hey, I'm going to need you to help me on these things. And when I'm doing this, it's going to help other people. He's not going to go, nah. He's going to say yes and amen, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
he's
it
got
and
you
it
lined
just
up.
really, it's so obvious when he's involved. Doors just open up that you would never even think were options for you in that situation. But the other part of it is you have to be obedient and follow through with what your goal is too with this, because although he can do everything by himself, he uses us to be his vessels as well. And I'm just a wide open vessel to do whatever he wants me to do.
Oh, that's awesome. And I know that you will, and I know good things are coming. Um, and in your book, you've got QR codes that people can scan. I mean, how cool is that, man?
I'm
Right?
so excited about those. Thank you for mentioning them. I had seen a book in the process of my writing my book with a QR code in it, and it was just to give information, like go back to a website to give information. But I thought, whoa, wait a minute. I'm a real visual person, so I added a lot of photos in my book, but I had a lot of videos to back up my stories. And I
Right,
really had an interest in the reader being able to dig a little deeper or feel like they were talking to a friend.
right,
And I did personal videos of my experience going through cancer or what chemo was like or radiation, but I also had entertaining videos in there. If you read like chapter 1, I talk about my experience on Ed McMahon's Star Search, and then you click on the QR code and you can physically see
wow,
me at 18 on Star Search.
that's great. Yeah,
So it was a lot of fun putting them together, and I think it was forward thinking and interacting for the reader to be able to do both, read and see videos along the way.
that's I couldn't think of a better way to present a book. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, I think that's going to be a big treat for everybody out there that hasn't read it already. That's really cool.
I I was really I feel like it was an epiphany from God, honestly,
What?
because the book that I found that from was a book of a minister that I'm really grateful to know. His parents had written a book, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm not super technically or technology savvy, but that
Right.
was something that I would never have thought on my own. It had to have been a God thing.
Well, and you've got Olivia Newton-John wrote the foreword to your book, and I know
Can you believe that?
was she an inspiration to you, and are you an inspiration to her? I bet you it's mutual, right?
Oh, I don't know how much I inspire her, but certainly as a little girl growing up, I loved her music. I always was a huge fan of hers, and I met her when I was 6 years old. But when I was older and had already gone through chemo, I met her through our mutual friend Barry Gibb. And I sound like a
Awesome.
name dropper when I say that, and I don't mean to, but
Hey,
when you're in the music industry, that's you run with people in the music industry, and
it's
you're all really connected in one
just
big
some
family.
guy, Barry Gibb. No, nobody special.
Well, that's another God thing. I'll tell you about that in a second. But um, he didn't think a thing about Olivia being at this party, so he didn't think to warn me. And here she comes and sits down next to me, and I am losing my mind. I'm like, what? And,
What?
but we became fast friends, and connection over breast cancer was really what bonded our friendship. And we talk a lot, we text a lot. She's such a busy person. And then she was dealt with cancer again. She was
Mm,
re-diagnosed most recently. And so, seeing her go through this battle with a smile on her face, even though, and seeing her positive attitude and how she is just so kind to others. Yeah, I want to be like that. I want
yeah,
to be more like her. So I take a lot of cues from the way just be watching her behavior is a blessing.
that's great. Yeah, that's special. Like you said, you got these people you grew up, listening to and seeing. Like I'm thinking of Grease, right? Grease, and then you got Barry Gibb. You got the song Grease. He wrote the song. Yeah, that's cool.
It's all
It's
connected. Every one
connected.
of them are connected. It's like line in the stars.
It
That
really
and I
is.
don't know where I fit in all of this, but I'm just grateful to be a friend of all of theirs. And with Barry, we had a really bad tornado that came through my hometown here in
Oh,
Hendersonville, Tennessee, and I was inspired. I was just having gone through cancer treatments, but I was inspired to do something to help. So many people died and lost their homes, and so I had an idea to put a concert on with all of the entertainers that live here in Hendersonville. And Barry had just bought Johnny Cash's house, which his house is in our town. And I wondered maybe if he was in town, maybe he could come and just wave to his new community. So I knew somebody that knew his secretary. So I just wrote a letter and I said, here's the people that are going to be on the show. If he's in town, would he be open to coming out? And so his manager called back and said, not only will that be the first time he sees his home, but he wants to sing with you.
oh wow.
And I was like, what? So
That
he
doesn't
did.
happen every day.
No. So that's what I'm saying. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, anybody could look at that as a death sentence, but I chose to change my attitude and make it my life sentence. I
Right.
started challenging myself bigger. I would never have written a letter to Barry Gibb prior to that, but I had courage now. I mean, when somebody tells you you have cancer, everything else is not scary,
That's right. That's
So
right.
I boldly asked him, and he boldly said yes. And from that point on, my life has just been a card, a falling card of house of beautiful connections. And I was, open to help the tornado victims. Perhaps God blessed me with my relationship with Barry and his family. And it's just been a beautiful, beautiful long-term relationship. We've been buddies for years now,
Wow.
so we travel with them. And one of my greatest experiences in life was Barry wanted us to go to Australia with him and see where he grew up. And Olivia asked him to sing over there for one of her charity events. So we were over in Australia with these royalties
Wow.
over there. It was just mind blowing. But again, before cancer, I would never have seen that in my future.
Right. That and the whole time God knew he knew the future before you even began, and things work out for the good. And that same here. I mean, with my cancer, it was on my vocal cords, and
Oh,
I was
man.
working at a radio station, and I sing stuff too. And I thought
Mm.
I won't ever be able to sing or talk or do anything like that again if they cut. I was just worried and fear, and now here I am talking to you and people like
Mm.
that, and all kinds of musicians and artists that I never would have thought. And it's been a blessing, and it's been and awesome things happen every day, and that's a good testimony, and your book is awesome. I mean, and I'm gonna finish reading it, and but what are your plans for the near future? Uh, coming up.
Well, I'm really excited. I'm leaving town this week to go do a huge speaking engagement in Lubbock, Texas, for a health seminar, and I never saw that in my future either. So
That's nice.
this is a new thing for me. But they're asking me to come and basically share my testimony and talk about my book and talk about what I felt helped me. I believe comedy helped me. I believe positive attitude, dreaming bigger for myself, and a lot of that is depicted in my book. And I'll be able to meet a lot of people that have gone through this. This is the Inside Out Foundation down there that gives away prosthetics or wigs or offers help to people that are going through traumatic cancer experiences, or even people with burn victims for children and things like that. So I'm there to support their organization, and hopefully have a lot more speaking engagements come up. There's a few things on my books for that. I've got some concerts that are coming up, and right now I'm finishing recording an album. I
All right.
love classic rock songs
Oh man,
and classic country songs.
cool.
I'm recording a classic rock song album right now where it's called Old Soul 2. I did volume 1, but there were so many songs that I loved that I just wanted to
Right.
do another volume to get them out. But um, I'm just having a blast. I'm doing what I enjoy doing, and I think if you do what you're happy doing, people will follow.
That's right. No, you're right. I think you're inspiring me. I think I might write me a book.
You need
I
to.
think.
It's very cathartic, and
Yeah.
it helps you organize your thoughts, and it's a discipline thing. I mean, there were some days that I wrote sometimes 16 hours a day, and it didn't
Wow.
even feel like working.
Wow. So, and you're reliving some of these things. I guess it helps to heal you too. Just kind of getting it out there,
It did,
right.
because like I said, the notes that I found, I had forgotten a lot about them, and truthfully on purpose. I was
Yeah,
glad
I
to
bet.
not remember them,
Right.
but I had to heal mentally and physically in order to be able to deal with it, and it took that long a time to not have post traumatic stress syndrome. I guess to read it again, and I could look at myself with more empathy and understanding and more maturity. When you
Yeah.
look back on those kind of times in your life and go, wow. Thank you, God. I now see the big picture.
That's right. And
I just had a
yeah.
birthday 2 days ago, and
Well.
I'm able to go back and go, I appreciate the wisdom and the
Yeah.
age.
Right.
I'd
Right.
rather have the age than less wrinkles.
That's right. Well, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And there's some funny moments I was reading this morning about your wig incidents that you've had. So the fans, let me just tell you, you're going to love that part, and the sweet moments, you know, with your husband. I mean, just so many things that I was checking out, and I'm really interested. I want to get back in there and read it, but it's going to make everybody. It's going to bring some tears, and it's going to encourage you. Just want to say that.
Well, the thing about it is, I look at comedy as a healer for sure, but you have to show people the rawness and the pain, and also the laughter, because it's all part of human nature. And I just felt like sharing, like you were talking about my wig. That's one of the things I'm going to share this weekend. American Red Cross had given me a wig. I went to the YMCA to work out, and I was sitting in a steam or a sauna, and this lady next to me, she goes, "Do you smell that?" I said, what are you talking about?" She says, "No, that it's like a burning smell." I said, "Yes, I do. I can't imagine what it is." She goes, "Ma'am, I think your wig is melting."
Oh,
It was
oh,
just,
that's fun. Hey, on that note, I have another call coming. I've got another interview lined up, so I'll have to let you go. But I'd like to get back with you one day and share some stuff with you.
that sounds great. Will you go do your thing? And I appreciate your time today. And
Well, I thank you so much, and God bless you.
God bless you too, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Real Music Podcast with Gary Stuckey. Thanks so much for sticking around, and had a great time with Kelly Lang. She's got an awesome testimony. Hope to talk to her again very soon. And sorry about those little beeps there toward the end. I had another interview coming in. I'm a busy man. What can I say? That call waiting. It won't wait. But until next time, everybody, whatever you do, keep the music real.